Do you know how many taxes here in the US? Let me tell you, it's over 10. Our money is taxed before we get the money to our checking account. It taxed again when you try to spend it. You live in the house, you pay the mortgage off, you still need to pay the property tax. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Tax-Exempt Millionaire Club. If you haven't joined our community, scan the QR code and join the school community. We share the bold method to help everybody to get to the tax-exempt millionaire status by becoming their own banks. Here's a quick disclaimer. I'm not a licensed CPA, financial advisor, tax attorney, or attorney. I am a licensed life insurance agent in multiple states as an independent life insurance agent. I'm here just sharing some knowledge I have, and most importantly, some of the life lessons I had over time in my wealth accumulation journey. Let's talk about US tax in this episode. Let me share with you, I asked ChatGPT study and learn mode of ChatGPT, which was just released a couple of days ago. How many taxes here in the US? I want to learn and get myself familiar with it. I asked the estimate percentage of each tax and asked ChatGPT to give me the table. Let's take a look one by one. Here's the result from ChatGPT. Let's go over this quickly. When we talk about tax, most of the case, we're talking about personal income tax, but there's way more than personal income tax we are paying. So personal income tax, in most of the case, it probably the biggest percentage when we get the money from our W-2 job. It has the federal level and the state level. The federal level is between 10% to 37%. It's marginal tax, which means the X dollar of the first tier, the tax of each dollar will be charged at 10%. And then it moves on up to 37%. Say your tax bracket is at 37%. That doesn't mean every single dollar is charged at 37%. It's a complicated process and complicated system. We just had the BBB made into law in July 4th, 2025. There's a lot of tax changes. The second one is the state level. There's a couple of states which has no personal income tax, which is great, but in most of the case, their property tax is pretty high. And there's some of the states, such as New York, California, they have pretty high state tax. The highest one is 13.3%. Payroll tax is what the employer is taking from your paycheck to pay Social Security tax as well as Medicare tax. 7.65 for employee and 7.65 for employer. Capital gain tax, yes, when you use money to make money, there's long-term capital gain tax and short-term capital gain tax. And it will be taxed between 0% to 20% on long-term capital gain. Corporate tax, if you have a corporation, the corporate tax at both the federal level as well as the state level. Federal level at this time when we shoot the video is 21%. State level also varies from 1% up to 11.5%. Sales tax, that's where you go out when you buy certain goods or certain services. You will be charged at 0% up to 10.75% combined. It could be state level as well as local level. They will impose that kind of sales tax. Property tax, that's the one I was mentioning. If you buy a house, you pay the mortgage over time, either 15 years a year. After you pay your mortgage off, property tax is always there. You have to pay. And it is assessed and charged by the county level assessor office. It is about 0.3% up to 2.5% of the assessed property value. Most of the case, it's not equivalent to the fair market value of the property. The next one, estate tax and gift tax. There actually another one called inheritance tax. It also will be charged at both levels. Some states will charge estate and inheritance tax, but we do have some exception of the dollar amount before the government start charging you the estate tax. The percentage is usually 18% to 40%, which can be pretty hefty, and you have to pay usually in a fixed period of time when you're going through the probate. The next one is exercise tax. It is imposed at both the federal and state level for certain specific goods, such as gas, tobacco, alcohol, and airline ticket, and it varies widely. Self-employment tax is specifically if you have a business and you are self-employed, because there's no employer, both employee and employer portion will be on you. 15.3% Social Security tax and Medicare tax. You have to pay that tax. Employment tax, both at federal and state level, about 0.6% to 6%. It will be used to fund the unemployment benefit, which we all know if you meet certain criteria and you lost your job, you can start collect unemployment benefit. That's all the taxes we're talking about based on what ChatGPT was giving us. Wow, that's a lot of tax. Different tax, sometimes you're not even aware of. I hope this episode gave you some general idea about the tax. That's why people are saying tax, tax, tax. Only death and tax are two things you will not be able to avoid in the US. If you're living in the US, in our Tax-Exempt Millionaire Club, we emphasize the tax impact over the long haul to our wealth accumulation. There are a couple of choices, such as the self-directed loss account, the high cash value life insurance policy, as the infinite banking concept. I encourage you to take a look how much tax you're paying every paycheck or every year. Do some analysis of the trend and think about how you could shift your money into the tax-exempt bucket, especially Roth. We love self-directed Roth solo 401k, which is my favorite, but you need to meet certain criteria, as well as the IBC policy utilizing high cash value life insurance. If this video gives you some useful content, feel free to like, subscribe, and put some comments here so you will not miss the next episode. I'll see you next time. Bye.